some specifics and give some of our listeners some specifics of how it actually helps teams through some of the, typical challenges of miscommunication.
That can totally transform how a team works together, is to know that you will not be judged and you will be rewarded for asking questions, for getting clarity. Another thing is just recognizing, oh, wow, I say things in a way that makes perfect sense to me, but if I want it to make sense to Andy, I need to appeal to Andy. So I'm just saying, what are those little things that each person can do to better understand and be better understood by other people? That's just huge.
Hello and welcome to this next episode of the Lean Solutions Podcast. I am one of your co-hosts, Shayne Daughenbaug, and
Andy Olrich. How are you, mate?
I am good, brother. I am good. Andy, as you know, it is great to be seen by you, and also it's great to see you as well. But as you know, I am a fairly playful guy. We just had a little interaction there where you're like, wait, what's he doing? Like, how is this working? I love to have fun. I love the playfulness of being able to bring the context down to a human level. It seems to kind of level the playing field when we're playful. It also is able to kind of like connect us as people in a subtle but somewhat of a natural way. So I want to know, like, as we're talking about play, and that's what this topic is. Today's topic is play, and we use play in a lot of different places. We use play in learning and education. There's gamification. You've probably seen it, whether if you've done any e-learning, where they have kind of, they watch the bar and you're supposed to reach a certain score and play. They use it in military with war games. They use it in therapy. There is play therapy to help people work through issues and whatnot. I've even seen hackathons and those kind of things in software development. But my question today, Andy, is play appropriate and useful in a more serious setting? In business, like for those that are really involved in not just making money, but also as a business owner, you have all of these lives of other people that are working with you or for you that also, need to be supporting their families and whatnot. So is play an appropriate place does it have an appropriate place in business and specifically for us, continuous improvement? Do you have any thoughts in this?
Oh, absolutely, Shayne. First of all, with the little intro bit, I'm used to you, mate. But yeah, that's what I love about you, and I love about this show is we can have a bit of fun. And yeah, in business, in life, if it's not fun, I'm not usually initially keen to do it. All right. And what I love about using play in some of the workshops I lead or if I'm involved in is, it lifts people. Kind of lifts you out of the day-to-day and just everybody, it helps level up the playing field from a rank perspective. It's appropriate for the moment, but getting people to have a bit of fun along the way, we're a bit more inclined to give it a go. So I'm a big fan of fun. I'm a big fan of play and more of it, especially when it comes to continuous improvement, because sometimes we've got to twist our brains into thinking a little bit of a different way. But I'm sure our guest is going to talk us all about that, but play on. I love it.
All right, so let's talk about our guest. As you bring Alex on, Alex Suchman is the CEO and co-founder of Barometer XP, whose mission is to create cultures where people are excited about their work because they feel a strong sense of purpose and belonging. She uses games and play to strengthen interpersonal dynamics such as trust, accountability, psychological safety in the workplace. She's a finalist for the Metro DC ATD Award for Excellence in Innovative Learning. Sorry, that's a mouthful, Alex, right there. Has been featured in Forbes magazine and is a thought-after speaker and thought leader on using play as a tool for organizational effectiveness and employee success. Alex, we are jazzed to have you here. Thanks so much for coming on the show.
I'm so excited. There's already 100 things that came up listening to your intro that I'm excited to dive into. I think this might be like an extra long episode.
right on.
More time for play, but it's great to have you on. And just listening to some of that, it's so great to have somebody who is officially known and recognized for play and bringing those things in. So I believe, Alex, you're going to have a bit of fun with us this morning or today, whatever time it is, wherever you're listening. So before I jump into the first question, I think I'll throw it over to you. Is there anything that you wanted to touch on, or are you going to take us onto a game already?
We can do that. I'll start by, there's certainly people that hear the words play and work in the same sentence and recoil. There's definitely people, when I say, oh, I'm a play facilitator, they don't want to make eye contact, or they, leave the room.
It feels so touchy-feely.
It feels touchy-feely, and everybody has an awkward experience. Everybody is like, whether it's like we did a ropes course, it was like a horrible trivia night because that one person got too competitive and, made it not fun. Or we tried to do, I don't know, like a pickleball tournament, but like some people aren't athletic. Or one horror story was one of the people, she's actually a facilitator in our community now, and she worked in finance. And it was a bunch of accountants, and they wanted to help people get to know each other better. Accounting can be a very solitary field. And so for their team outing, they went bowling. And she said it was a disaster because if you don't talk to people when you're sitting near them at work, you're not going to talk to them when you're sitting waiting for your bowling turn. There's nothing in bowling that has you interact with other people.
Right.
Often it's well intended, but not used well. You have to be really intentional when you're bringing play into the workspace. It's very, very different than when you're playing a game with your friends or family. When the purpose is to have fun. At work, you want to have fun, but fun is never the goal. The goal is always to get to know each other better, to help think more creatively, to foster better curiosity, to practice different ways of communicating. And that needs to be the purpose. And then you want the fun to be a side effect.
So true. That's so true. And you talked about 100 things that came up. We're going to talk about lots of stuff, but there's a couple of real lived examples here in Australia actually around, I can't believe we did that. It was a disaster, but I'll hold it there. So I'll hold my powder dry and hang in there, everyone. This is going to be a great episode. So, okay, I'll throw it to you, Alex. What are we in for?
Why don't we start with the game? Because a huge part of it, of getting people to let down some of their suspicion and skepticism around play, is seeing how it's different and how it can be done. One of the most universal challenges in the workplace is communication. We're 3 people. We're all very accomplished, very smart. I might describe something in a way that totally makes sense to me based on my professional background and my experience. And it might make no sense to you at all. And that's on me. If I'm trying to communicate instructions or expectations to you, it's on me to make sure you understand. My job is not done when the words leave my mouth or when the email is sent. So we're going to play a game that explores that and how people process information and what details are most important, what they really need when they're hearing something. So do you have a paper and a pen ready?
I just want to know, are we being scored? Because I want to beat Andy.
No.
It's something. I want to beat him at something.
It's not a
competition.
But you are
Sadly.
going down, mate. You're going down, Shayne. All right.
All right,
Sadly.
we're ready.
But it looks like we might have to dig into this competitiveness in the debrief, so I'm filing that away.
Now, Alex, real quick, is this something that people at home or that are listening can also follow along with?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. You just need a paper and a pen. This is a game called Visionary. I call it my Swiss Army knife game because it can be used to explore so many different types of team dynamics. And so many ways of looking at how you can improve how a team works together. So I have a picture on my screen that I'm looking at. I am going to describe it. And as I'm describing it, you are drawing. You are drawing what you hear me say. For my own, I'm going to put a 2-minute timer.
Cool.
Just to add a little bit of challenge so it doesn't go on forever. And no one will see your drawings unless you want to show it. It's really just paying attention to what's helpful in the instructions, what can make them better, what details are most important to you.
Okay.
Does that sound good?
I'm excited. Make it happen.
All right, here we go. So the picture is a portrait orientation, so the long way up, and it is a very close-up drawing, just a plain black pen on white background drawing of the head of an owl. It's really just the head and the neck of an owl. So that's the overview, and I'm going to go into the different pieces of it. To start, I would draw a big circle that takes up about 3/4 of the page, both height and width-wise, and that's the owl's head. And that's the outline. The only other part of the owl outside the head is it looks like the owl is peeking in from the left side of the page. So there's like the diagonal of the neck going down under the head. And then inside the head, you have the face of the owl. And the face it looks like a heart. It's like a big, wide heart, except that the bottom is rounded and not pointy. So it takes up, I would say, the vast majority of the width and height of that circle of the head. So it's a very rounded heart. And inside of that, you just have 2 eyes, 2 circular eyes, just little black circles. There's nothing in the eyes. And the beak, which just looks like the letter V. And the beak is centered between and beneath the 2 eyes.
You said the letter V, right?
V, yep. V pointing down.
Okay, it's definitely not an owl. All right.
Any other questions? Something you want me to repeat or clarify?
Just the V is pointing. I'm just thinking of an owl now. It's been a while since I've seen one, but is it pointing like the pointy end is down?
Pointy end is down, yeah.
Good.
Little triangle beak. Yep.
Does it have
And
like
there's no
eyebrows?
feathers or no ears, no eyebrows. It's very, very simple.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
So
Okay.
that was 2 minutes.
Oh wow.
It goes by really fast. So before, and I can show you the picture in a second, and we can put it in the show notes. People followed along and want to see. But how did that feel for you? What was going through your mind? What were you thinking as you were drawing?
It was a little intimidating for me. Just like, where do I start? Like, I appreciated kind of the heart thing.
Yeah, that was good. I was just, as I was starting to draw, I was having to go, hang on a second, she might say something next. Hang on. I found myself racing ahead and just, yeah, but I think kind of looks like an owl. I think, Shayne, I'm going to lead with vulnerability here. Because this is going to be on YouTube and we're recording the vision, I'm happy to show mine and show why I am doing other things in life apart from art.
Okay, we'll both do it. Both do it on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Ooh.
I love it. Those are perfect. Those are absolutely perfect.
All right.
And now I'll share my screen, if I can share my screen, and show you
the standard.
I think you can, right? Okay, I'm going to add it to stage. There it is.
So this is the owl.
Oh, gee.
So I think you both nailed it.
Yeah, I coloured in.
Great.
I coloured in. This is it's called a powerful owl. It's an Australian owl, so it's got the black beak. There you go. I'm claiming it. No.
Good. We want to be culturally inclusive of what owls look like all over the world.
Right.
No, wonderful.
Right. Oh, sorry. Okay, keep going.
Yeah. So I appreciate you saying it was stressful and the vulnerability piece. What was helpful in the instructions?
Shapes, like specific shapes. Because I know what an owl looks like, but if you tell me to draw an owl, I don't know where to start. Like, I'm just gonna draw a circle.
Mm-hmm.
The heart with the curved edge, so it was good. You were connecting it with common images that I was aware of, or letters, and giving me dimensions, like 3/4 of the page and portrait orientation. So you were linking it to things that I'd kind of seen everywhere. And we had no idea what the activity was, team, for all of those of you who are listening and playing along. So this is in the moment real. So that for me was, you were connecting it to things that were familiar and not necessarily work related. So that took me back to where I spend probably the majority of my time. And there you go.
Cool. Yeah.
Were there any details that you wish I had said that would have made it more helpful or made you feel more comfortable or confident?
Oh, you could have shown me to start with, but that's not the point.
If
This is
you
what
would
I
have
want
just
you to
shown,
do.
we would have been there.
All
So
right,
quicker.
I can already tell Andy is one of the how do I break the game? He's one of those people.
Yeah, this is rigged. I've got to find a way instead of actually just playing the game. No, that's me being cheeky. But yeah, if you had shown me, then it might have made it harder. I was just kind of relaxed. I was like, oh, well, you don't have to show me. You set me up well. Like you said, look, you don't have to show anyone. So I felt relaxed. But definitely the shapes and where it was coming from and the size and the orientation. Yeah.
Yeah, I noticed that I had to fight against what I've perceived as an owl. Like when you first did start drawing an owl, I started drawing like kind of like the ears, the bighorned owl has the shapes and so, and then you said, just draw a circle. I'm like, oh, okay, hold on. Let me just back up. Erase this. Let me start over again. And then it was just like, let me just sketch. So I had to like back myself away from where I wanted to go originally and, hard drawing and all of this thing and try to make it look like Picasso. Well, actually it does look a lot like Picasso.
Yeah, I was going to say, Picasso's
spot on.
Picasso's a mess and gets paid for it, so I'll go with that. So for those playing along at home, and if you're looking at this on LinkedIn or wherever, if you feel comfortable, pop your owl in the show notes in the comments. We'd love to see it.
Yeah.
So, Alex, that was a great exercise. So yeah, where to from here?
So debriefing that, did that ever happen at work where somebody starts describing something in your mind? You're like, oh yeah, I know I've done this type of project before, or I've, heard that word, and you have an image in your head of what it is. Everybody on the team might, and then everybody goes and starts working on it. But then what happens, 3 weeks later?
Oh, that's not what I had in mind. And we just spent 3 weeks doing something that wasn't quite what was originally wanted or requested.
Yes. Yeah.
It happened
exactly.
so much. We've got how many different types of owl, and the customer's just sitting there going, actually, that's not what it said on the website, or that's not what I had in mind. So yeah, that's definitely that variation. And again, I kind of feel because we're falling back onto what we've previously done before, or if I've never done it before, the variation and just that interpretation can be swayed a little bit. So
yeah, so there's two different things, when you're playing this with the people that you work with, there's two different kinds of conversations that come out. One is, oh, well, I had in my head that the owl looked like this, so I drew ears and I drew feathers, and like, oh, wow, it's crazy to me that you have a totally different idea of an owl. The other thing, though, is just what the experience was like. There's some people that might have been thinking like, I'm talking, you're talking too slow. We have to get this done as quickly as possible, because that's what success looks like then. You might have the people that are taking frantic notes on every detail, because for them it has to be perfect. And so they're wasting all their time taking notes, and they don't even draw an owl. You might have someone who doesn't draw anything because they're just too nervous to make a mistake or to look silly or vulnerable. And all of those directly affect not just our experience of work, but how we work with other people and the outcomes. And so bringing some transparency to how we think and what we need and what success looks like and what motivates us and what scares us, that's just so critical for smooth collaboration at work. And there's so many skills and there's so many complexities to being human. And so when multiple humans have to work together, there's so many areas where there can be misalignment, and that causes waste and friction. And so in bringing some of these internal, like intra and interpersonal dynamics to light, you can be much more strategic in how you work together. And there's such a benefit to knowing that and avoiding a lot of the common sources of conflict and tension and waste and burnout and all the bad things that we all experience at work.
So true. And when you were saying that, I was thinking too, you asked me, and whether it was intentional or not, but you asked me just before we got going, now do you have a paper and pen? All right. So there's that piece there. It's like, have we got the team when we're ready to launch? Have they got all the tools and equipment that they need in advance? Mm-hmm. So that popped into my head then, because a lot of times you do get thrown into a project and they're like, right, we've got to everybody get together. We've got to go from here to here in this amount of time. We can't mess it up. Oh yeah, you got enough tools? Or you're not even asking the questions, like draw the out. So what do I what with a pen or a pencil head? Yeah. So there's all those. Again, it lifts. Right. What I love about this is it lifts you into that space where you just refer to a project, and it doesn't. It's not so much about what the actual task is. it's more around the relationship and the system and how, all those things you said. So you talk about relational waste in organisations. So it might be an interesting term for some of our listeners. So we're going into that, but can you just give us a quick little explanation of what that means?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm still fiddling with the term, and I'm really curious to hear from you and your listeners if it resonates. But so many of the challenges that come up at work that cause wasted time and wasted energy and wasted social capital and issues with products and deliverables are interpersonal, are because in order to collaborate with someone, you need to have some sort of foundation of familiarity and trust and shared accountability. And that doesn't just happen. You have to build that. You have to create that. And so I think there's so much avoidable conflict, avoidable waste at work that comes from not building a solid relationship, a solid foundation of relationship. I mean, it's very, in our personal lives, if a friend calls me up and says, hey, I need help or I need advice, of course I'm going to help my friends. If a random person comes up to me on the street, unless it's an emergency, I'm going to be like, I have to be somewhere. We want to help the people that we trust. We like the feeling of helping them. Especially if we know that there's some shared purpose, that, a success for one is a success for all. We want that. So why not build that relationship so you have that with all of the people that you're going to have to work with? And we all, in that assumption space, we attach so many assumptions to what motivates other people, why they say what they do, why they do what they do. And very often we're wrong. And it's really good to prove those wrong, because I might assume, I can't remember which one of you is like, oh, I need to win the game. But if I think, was it Shayne? Okay, if Shayne's always really competitive and he always has to win, and like Shayne's just not going to be a team player because of that. Well, I've just ruled out Shayne, and I have just deprived myself from all the wisdom, all the experience that he brings. And we do that constantly. We're always making these snap judgments about what people can and can't do, and what it would be like to do something with them. Or, and at work, the truth is, especially as we're using more and more technology, we really need to have positive collaboration with other people. It's so essential. And so if there's groundwork that you can do to build better relationships, to make it so those assumptions and those conflicts don't happen, to me, it seems a perfect fit with the idea of lean and waste.
Yeah. So and I love this. I wrote it down. Play gives a shared purpose. I love that, and that kind of mirrors and mimics what a business team or work team is doing. But can you give me some specifics and give some of our listeners some specifics of how it actually helps teams through some of the typical challenges of miscommunication, possibly unclear expectations, and I think you mentioned, if I remember correctly, you mentioned trust.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that game Visionary I've done with thousands of teams, and some of the big things that come out of it, you'll have, especially if it's an intact team and you have the leader and everybody else, the leader will say, oh my gosh, I don't leave time for you to ask me clarifying questions. Or, I say I want questions, but as soon as somebody asks, I sort of dismiss it, and I'm like, oh, you should know this already. I need to change. I mean, it sounds very small, but that can totally transform how a team works together, is to know that you will not be judged and you will be rewarded for asking questions, for getting clarity. Another thing is just recognizing, oh, wow, I say things in a way that makes perfect sense to me, but if I want it to make sense to Andy, I need to appeal to Andy. Like Andy wants to, he's really concerned with getting things done quickly. Like time management is really important to him. So if I'm spending 10 minutes at the beginning of every meeting just sort of not really getting to the point, I'm losing Andy, and Andy's going to write me off, and then I'm going to write Andy off. So we need to not do that. So just understanding what are those little things that each person can do to better understand and be better understood by other people. That's just huge. And that game took 2 minutes to play and maybe 5 minutes to reflect on. And every single time you get real actionable insights, both at the individual level, but also at the collective level, talking about shared norms and processes for how we structure our meetings and the way we communicate with each other, before and after meetings.
Yeah. And how, it's so true. Like, oh, he's an engineer, so you'll just be the stats guy. And she's from HR. Oh, maybe I better watch my back here. It's really, and I'm not generalizing everybody. It's just things that I've heard when I've been
Yeah.
running workshops, or they're like, oh, well, you're the lean guy, or you're the lean Six Sigma guy, so everything's going to be X, Y, Z. I'm like, hang on a minute, I used to be an electrician and I like to do this on the weekends. Like, find out a bit about me, because we're probably not so different. It's just we're in different functions. And I think it's so, I'm resonating so much with this, and because that's the realities of diverse groups and thinkers and things. I'm just thinking many leaders maybe listening to this. I'm not trying. Here we go. I nearly pigeonholed you there. Sorry, guys. It's there's that hesitation. It's like we're burning cash, or we're hurting people, or people are leaving, and you want me to play a game? You want me to bring games? This is not fun, guys. Our business is in trouble. Our people are hurting. X, Y, Z.
Yeah.
What do you say to those when you say, look, I want to do this through play, and we're going to get some really deep cuts, some serious outcomes and connection here? What's some of your tactics or ways to bring that hard head around who, I haven't got time for this crap type mentality?
Yeah.
Well, sometimes they'll tell me what you've done so far and how has that worked. And I'll be, well, we've pulled all the stats on employee engagement, and we've done a survey, and we are monitoring. It's like, yeah, has that improved anything? And so that's one thing. But then the other thing too is, and this is what I was mentioning at the beginning, is if you're very intentional in what activities you pick and how you connect it to something that's important with the group, we can say, hey, we take too long making decisions. People are really risk averse and don't want to be wrong. And so we talk in circles and it wastes a lot of time. And I know that causes a lot of frustration. Let's get better at making decisions. And what better way to do that than to practice? I mean, when you think about how kids learn homework and, sports practice, and, if you musical instrument, whatever you do, like it's built in the idea that you have to practice. But then for adults, it's, watch this video on your company's LMS, or go to this one workshop where somebody is talking at you and showing you slides, and then change your behavior forever.
Yeah.
It doesn't work. But if you bring in the experience, and that's what play is, it's experiential learning, and you're specifically designing an experience to bring out the insights, the conversations, the learnings that you're trying to do. And in a way, you're simulating what happens in the work environment. People cannot help but show up as themselves in playing the game. Whatever insecurities they have, whatever personality traits, whatever way that they think or react, it's all going to show up. And so it's a way of bringing a mirror and saying, this is how you individually and you collectively work and act together. Is this what you want? Is this helping you? Are there things that you can do different? And that's where the continuous improvement lens is. We're used to looking out, where in the process could be better, where in the work environment. But what about looking inward? How could I show up? How can I react? How can I communicate in a way that's going to get better results? And you have to practice that, that sort of self and situational awareness, and sort of self modulation of our behavior. That's a skill.
It is a skill. And one of the big things in lean culture is reflection. Okay. Hindsight. It's like, hang on a second. What am I doing? What am I projecting? Those sorts of things. So that looking inward thing, definitely, it's such a connection to what we strive for, I believe, in this space. It's such a great, powerful thing to do, because we do. We're like, okay, I'm coming to help, and I'm going to look at all of your things and the process, and you describe that so well. And it's actually, hang on, we actually looked at ourselves here and reflected on what we're doing, instead of it's over there and it's all them. So I think that play, and I think that for me, it's that if we have a nice experience with something, it kind of sticks in your brain, in the happy part of the brain. And I think we're more out. We don't have that fight or flight sort of thing so much. It's like, oh, this is actually feeling pretty good. Yeah, I'm going to keep going with this. So I think, again, it's a real human reaction that we have to this.
Yeah. Can you give us a specific example of a time when you have led this and found a breakthrough for teams, or the team found breakthroughs through doing this, whether it be team dynamics or process improvement or whatever it happens to be. But can you give our listeners, hey, here's this, like a case study. Can you give our listeners a case study?
Absolutely. Earlier this year, it was in the late winter, early spring, I did a virtual game session with a small marketing team. They're based in Texas, but they have employees all over the world, across time zones. So most of their work together is asynchronous. And you have the other people who create marketing content. You have the people who do business development. You have the graphic designers. You have the video editors. So very different skills and very different roles. And the owner of the company wanted not only for them to get to know each other and understand each other's strengths, but she really wanted to foster more collaboration and for people to take more initiative towards collaboration. She was spending so much time answering questions and walking through problems that she felt like she wanted all of the team members to step up their ownership and their accountability. Yeah. So we did a couple of games, and this was just one session. Usually if we're trying to get deep outcomes like that, we want to do multiple sessions. But the people took to the games immediately. And, people all over the world. So there were several who English was not their first language. And initially that's always a bit of a barrier. And, it shows up different ways, whether you're communicating synchronously on something like Zoom or asynchronously on something like Slack. It's really easy to misunderstand and misinterpret. But in the games, because they were having so much fun together, the people who maybe were more introverted or who were not native English speakers, you could gradually see them start to feel more comfortable. And as they did, they started being funny. They started bringing in creative ideas and not just reacting. And then the other people were like, oh my gosh, look at all these really brilliant and smart and funny and creative people that we never really had a chance to work with. And so, during the session, we played a couple of games. There was some great reflection. And then it ended. And about 5 months later, I was talking with the owner and the COO. And they said, the owner of the company said she got 5 to 7 hours back every single week because they're going to each other to answer questions because they like interacting with each other. And so They find excuses. And if that excuse is, hey, I'm stuck on this project, can you help me? The work felt more, it was great to feel like you have people have your back, but then also, oh my gosh, we actually accomplished this together. Now we feel even more confident. And then they started bringing her ideas and saying, we found this better way to do something. We think this is a new offering that our clients might really like, and we've been playing around with it. And they've also, as a group, created their own game, like a tabletop role play type of game, like a D&D thing where everyone's a character and they're navigating this. And they play it all the time on Slack. People love it. And they've really internalized this idea of play helping them on so many levels. One, on just feeling that sense of comfort and cohesion as a group and wanting to work with other people and liking that experience. To two, better understanding themselves and better understanding each other. So you know who to go to for what type of help.
Right. Yes.
And then three, empowering them to look at their roles differently, to not just see themselves as this is my role, but I'm part of this group and these are our goals, and anything that I can do that furthers these goals, I'm excited to do. I'm excited to help us all succeed more. And that was just from a 90-minute virtual game session.
So it's almost, as I'm interpreting it, it was a shortcut to getting to where teams naturally come to when they're together for a long time, if they're intentional, know, and it also helps if you're all together. But if you're asynchronous, it's hard to have that, that time where you're together. So you shortcut that and gave them opportunity to understand, oh, this is what Andy's like. These are some of Andy's strengths. Here's what Alex is really good at, or here's Alex's personality, so that I can connect with and all of that. It just seems like you were able to leapfrog into a great way to be connected, to collaborate with work. And yes, Lean Solutions needs to have a D&D Slack. I'm just saying it online right now. That I want Patrick to be our dungeon master, and if we could have that would be. We use WhatsApp, not Slack, but yes, if we could.
I think to Alex, we might. I'm just going to jump in here, and I'll lead in with a story. But we talk about these games and how there can be a little bit of recoil or leaders' hesitation with it, or even the participants. I'll give you an example. So I want to talk about. I like to understand not only what goes well, but also red flag. Do not do this. Look out if this is happening when you're going in with play. So for those of you who may not be familiar with some of the sports that I look at, it's rugby league, okay, and there's a really big competition, and it's called State of Origin, and every year they do these team bonding camps, right? As part of you get halfway through the season and they pick out all the best players, and then they're in these teams that play each other from New South Wales and Queensland. So they had this great idea, and they're like, you know what we're going to do this year? We're going to go horse riding. Okay, so down in the Glenworth Valley near Sydney, it's a nice national park. That resulted in one of our best players falling off a horse, breaking his shoulder, and then he was out for the rest of the season. And everyone looked around and went, who the hell thought that was a great idea like a week before one of the biggest games of the year? We're never doing that again, and guard sees him type stuff. So that's an example of when 2020 hindsight, it's looking back going, why would you put this guy weighs I don't know what it is in pounds, but he's 110 kilos, and you're going to put him on a horse and then send him out in the bush for a run around. Bad idea. So, Alex, it's up to you, but have you got a zinger of a story where you went in and we did play and it was a disaster?
Oh gosh, yeah. In our early days when we were just, any team that would let us come in and play, we just wanted to get practice and sort of hone our methodology and hone our craft. And we learned some real red flags of who make for good clients and partners and who does not. And if you have, so one story was a team at a government contractor, and they were very, the manager of the team was a very no nonsense, no fuzzy, touchy feely human stuff. Like everybody should just do what they're supposed to do. And you get paid and let's just do the work. And we did this team simulation with them where everybody's working together. You're the leadership team at an imaginary amusement park, and there's a whole bunch of information you have to put together and come up with a solution. And very early on in the simulation, which is intentionally very vague, it's supposed to be you have to muddle through this together. You're really going to you're going to be uncomfortable, and you're really going to show your true colors. You have to get through this. And the leader made some comment of, obviously we need to prioritize profitability in our decision. And no one questioned, and they just went along. And I think they came to a solution. It wasn't a very good one. It didn't really use a lot of the information. And then in the debrief, someone was like, I totally missed in the instructions where you said we had to focus on profitability. And I said, I didn't. That was an assumption that one person made, and nobody questioned that. And from that moment, there were people that were like, we want to think about visitor happiness. We want to think about safety. We want to think about, marketing and messaging. And we didn't feel like there was space for that. And it was a real eye-opening moment that if the leader isn't willing to look inside themselves and recognize that they do so much for setting the tone, creating the environment for people to work in, then it's not worth our time to work with them. And so for us, the team left not feeling good about themselves. And unfortunately, I don't think they learned the lessons that we intended them to because of the leadership. Because, if someone's saying, this is what we have to do and everyone just do it, no one's going to ask questions. No one's going to come up with creative ideas. No one's going to be...
Especially if it's the leader.
Especially if it's the leader. And so a lot of what goes into experience design and facilitation is, to some ways, meeting a group where they are, what's appropriate. You don't put an athlete on a horse, right before a big tournament because the risk is too high. If you have a group, people who, if it's a group of accountants and they're not used to thinking creatively, don't have them play charades. That's too big of a leap. Maybe there's a game that has more of a strategy component, or maybe they get into small teams instead of being in a big team. You have to think about all of those factors for what mindset do people need to be in to even get to the learning and the outcomes that you're trying to get them to?
Yeah, he'd never been on a horse before, and no one had asked him. It was just like, oh, we're going to throw you in the deep end here. This is going to be a great idea. Whereas, and there may be cultural reasons, there may be all sorts of triggering things from the past. I think that's a really good point you're making there. Is for me, that's saying, like for yourself or whoever's facilitating or bringing this play in, is kind of got to read the room a little bit. Give me some insights into who's in the room, what roles. Is there any red flags? Is there any relationships that may blow up here if I just make a joke about? Yeah, a little bit of homework on the facilitator's side as well, just because, again, the human side of this is so important. So I guess a segue into that is, I want to do some play. I'm listening to this. I've never done it before. What's one simple, playful activity you'd pull out and say to people, look, if you're going to get going, here's the one that I would recommend?
I can share one, and then also share that we built a whole database of games that you can search by. It's free. It's a free database. Say, like, I want a game that fosters conversation about curiosity. I want a game where a team can practice decision making. I want a game that's going to work on, practice active listening or something, because we want to make this process of finding the game really easy. But one that is so quick, it's so simple, and it's really fun for the sake of, like, we're doing something together, we're creating something together, and there's room for playfulness and curiosity. It's called Fortunately, Unfortunately. It's an improv game. And remember the game, I'm sure we all played it as a kid, where one person says a sentence and everybody adds a sentence and you create a story.
Okay.
It's like that, but with a twist. So the first person starts and you say the opening sentence, and then you say, fortunately, this happened in the story. And then the next person has to start their sentence with unfortunately. So the story, there's no sort of linear storyline. It goes up and down and up and down, but you have to actively listen to the person ahead of you, because what you say needs to tack onto what they say. It needs to be in direct response to that. And it gets so crazy. I think because it doesn't have that linear thing, because it's going back and forth, like, it goes into outer space and we bring in, creatures, and there's, crazy details that come up, and it's just so much fun. And at the end, you're this feeling of, we just created a story together. That's a shared moment of joy and creativity and productivity, co-creation that we did together. And we're going to remember that. Oh my gosh, Shayne was so funny. The thing he said in that game was great. Or, like, remember when Andy tied everything together? He, did a callback to something early in the story, and that was so funny. Those moments are so precious. And even if you're not directly practicing a skill, it's just reinforcing, look what you can do together. So that is absolutely one of my favorites.
So yeah, we do need to wrap up this conversation, even though I'm loving where we're going with this. I do want to follow up as you just described it. So you just gave us, hey, here's a scenario, here's a game you can play. How do I wrap it up?
Yeah, that's where the reflective piece comes in. How was that for you? What were you feeling? What were you thinking? Did you learn anything about any of the people that you work with? Did you notice a new skill or find something really helpful or reassuring? Or what made you feel comfortable to bring in a really outlandish idea? Just that self-reflection of, like, what was it about this particular situation, the activity you were doing, the mood you're in, the people that you're with, the way they showed up, that affected how you feel and how you acted. And I think that's what's missing from a lot of using play and activities, is you're not connecting it to anything.
Okay. Yeah. Interesting.
Such an important point to put a bit of a full stop, or wrap it, and then a bit of but also have that inspired call to action. Right, what are we going to do with this experience we've had? So, Alex, this is such a fascinating space. As I said earlier at the start there, I just love learning through play. It makes me remember it in a positive way, and I try and do things scenario based play in everything I do, and I just love it. So, but we need to wrap it up, as we've been talking about here. But how can people get in touch with you, Alex? And you mentioned there's a free database that you have, an amazing gift to the world. So, two things: what's the best way for people to reach out and learn more about what you do and how to find out more? But also, what is this thing? Where do we find it? And we'll put it in the show notes for everyone.
So the one place to find everything is barometerxp.com. That's our website. And on that website, you can find information about me. You could, connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn a lot, Alexandra Suchman. But then to get from the website, you can learn about our facilitation programs and the trainings and workshops we do. But there's something called the Play Concierge, and that's the name of the platform. And so if you click on where it says Play Concierge, there's a thing that says set up your account, and you go in, and we have all sorts of frameworks on there for how do you break down activities into their mechanics and dynamics to connect to learning. There's different ways of looking at play and how do you reflect and what types of questions. And then there's a database of about 120 games that you can filter by about 20 different variables.
Brilliant.
Awesome.
Thank you. Thank you for that. I'll definitely be checking that out.
Awesome. Yes. Is there any last things that you wanted to share with you shared a ton even in this short time that we've had. Anything that you want to say? I just got to say this to encourage you out there.
Yeah, we're really promoting that there should be so much more play at work. And a lot of what we do is training other people. So we do all sorts of virtual and in-person workshops on how to use play to make better meetings. How do you use play to practice giving feedback? If people want to facilitate play, we have a whole certification program on how do you connect it to all different types of outcomes. So awesome. If anybody's interested in learning how to lead play or wants to get some tools, I would love to share that. We just want to make work. Yeah. I don't know if I can say this, make work suck less for people.
I say that all the time. Those exact words.
I was going to say, Shayne says that. Yeah, I think that's on your LinkedIn handle, or it was. So,
it should be.
But yeah, gosh, I don't want to work has this. It's like work, but if it's fun, I'm there. It's such a great call. And I'll wrap up with my final thing. My mum always said, if you're going to work hard, you got to play hard. And around balance, she does say she wished she didn't say that around me until I was in my 30s, but it's so true. And Alex, it's been an absolute joy to meet you. Shayne, we'll debate whose owl is better later on, mate, but great to be with you again, and I'll throw back to you for the closeout. Cheers.
All right. Yes. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for watching watching and listening once again. Please be sure to, if you did do the exercise, show us your owl in some way. Again, we'll be posting this on LinkedIn. Make sure that you drop it in the comments or on the YouTube, however you can. Thanks again. Have a great day. We'll talk again later.